Is it time for Derrick Rose and the Bulls to part ways? The $21.5 million a year player who at one point came into the NBA, won an MVP award, and was the future of the Bulls franchise. Unfortunately, as we've talked about time and time again on this program, on pretty much every program in the world, suffered some brutal injuries, most of which are not Derrick Rose's fault. But I just wanted to point out, they were showing just yesterday on NBA.com, they had a throwback to Derrick Rose in like 2010, 2011, where he finished on an unbelievable lob where he was late to get the pass and he just jumped out of the building. And now, unfortunately, I don't want to like throw any more disrespect to Derrick Rose. I'm not trying to do that. But like you watch Bernie Sanders shooting free throws and you're like, God, they have the same vertical. Like, it's bad. It's really bad. But the real question here, though, is there a team, is there a situation, is there another option to which Derrick Rose can leave the Bulls can get something in return for him, and some team has to pick up, again, a $21.5 million contract for next season. So you're pretty much locking up a max player who can't be a max player anymore, even though he can still be effective. I'm not going to say he's going to be useless. He played the most games last season as he played combined from like the 3 seasons prior, but we know he's injury prone. He's still young. That's what's so 27. Amazing about it. Not even.
No,
is he 27?
Yeah.
So I thought he was 27. Okay, so he's 27, right? He's still got 3-4 years of hopefully 70 games in him, 60 games a season. Do you think there's a team out there, Francis? Do you think that if you're a GM of a team and you're looking at the free agent field, which includes guys like Harrison Barnes, who's going to probably get a max contract, DeMar DeRozan, who just opted out, is going to get a max contract, let alone the rest of the Bulls, that Jimmy Butler might be on his way out, do you want to sign Derrick Rose for a year and give him that chance?
I think that it's a high risk but potential high reward, right? And you look at your season last year, as it's noted here, Bleacher Report, he's played more games than he has done in recent years, and he got 16.4 points, 4.7 assists, so he averaged not too bad for a guy who is injury prone. The two big things is that max contract, right, and the injury worries. That's two, I would say, two crucial indicators in whether you go in all out for a player like this. Because Derrick Rose, what I would say is potentially he would have to alter his role in order to become more efficient for players. I would even say that Derrick Rose needs to play as if he's a player on the way out to get the most out of him, like a D. Wade for the Miami Heat. Yes, he plays a lot of minutes, but at times you maybe expect him to be rested and not play as many minutes. And that's an interesting factor to take into consideration because he is only 27 years of age, and he, at one point, was considered the future of the NBA, potentially one of the best point guards in the league, just at the way he could move and his athleticism. But there is many teams out there, let's be honest. Is he going to be that high-impact player that is going to be considered in the elite of point guards in the league anymore? I don't think so, simply because you don't know what you're going to get with Derrick Rose, whether or not he's going to be injured or not. There's tons of point guards out there that are able to perform week in, week out at that level of athleticism, because we know this league is moving forward. You have to continuously grow with the league or you're going to be left behind. You see point guards like Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, John Wall. These guys are fast point guards that are able to move the ball and shoot ridiculously well when they have to. Derrick Rose's body won't allow him to do that as well. We see Derrick Rose hesitant to go up for dunks. We see Derrick Rose hesitant to drive to the hoop when he has to. And that's something that always, I watched him, he was one of the first players that made me fall in love truly with college basketball. He was a phenomenal athlete to watch. It was almost like there was a trampoline in the court at certain times.
It was. Derrick Rose at Memphis is still one of the best college basketball players I've ever seen in my lifetime, even though they didn't finish off the job win the championship. So here's what I find so amazing about it. The point guard position is so deep, which you just alluded to, with Lillard, with Curry, with Westbrook, all guys, and that's not even, like, it doesn't even end there. Kyle Lowry I'll finally give credit to, Chris Paul. And in addition to that, unfortunately, if this was 15 years ago, where the point guard position wasn't nearly as deep, yeah, somebody would shell out whatever the scaled amount of money would have been for Derrick Rose in a second. But I do think it's not even just such a big market thing anymore because, again, we saw last year Greg Monroe signed with the Milwaukee Bucks, and he was a max contract guy. So wherever he goes, he also could bring in fans.
Yeah, no doubt.
My feeling is, what if, like, I'm looking at the teams that might be interested in bringing in someone like Derrick Rose. I know the Charlotte Hornets have Kemba Walker at their helm. But do the Charlotte Hornets want to take a big gamble on potentially getting, as you mentioned, an all-star player, sell more tickets? You know, also there's other teams that I think are more bigger market situated, like the Miami Heat, who unfortunately have an aging Dwayne Wade. Do you want to take a big risk on someone like Derrick Rose? But if you find the right system, you find the right coach, someone who's willing to manage the minutes, and in addition to all that, shell out the money.
Yeah, there's talks on here. I was reading through Bleacher Report's article on it, and they're saying that Minnesota Timberwolves were interested in moving their 5th overall pick in last year's draft to actually acquire Jimmy Butler, right? Which for me, you know my thoughts on Jimmy Butler. I've watched him firsthand numerous times.
We're getting you a jersey.
Yeah, I have to. He's a great, I feel, overall player to acquire in any team. I think he could fit seamlessly into any of the big teams. Here's my last point on Derrick Rose. Jason, do you think he could be an addition to a squad that needs to have, I mean, it's so hard to even think about because it's Derrick Rose, you're saying his name, but a similar role to the way Sean Livingston plays for Golden State Warriors?
The biggest problem with that, the only problem with that,
is it's a max contract.
Is it's for 1 year because I don't know if Derrick Rose is expecting to get another max contract deal unless he somehow plays out of his mind 70 games next season. But again, you watch his ability. A lot of his magisterial qualities came from his athleticism. Being able to do things that we see Russell Westbrook doing. Now that that's kind of been cut down to 50%, he's got to become a slower paced guy. And actually, Sean Livingston's a fantastic comparison, not because of height and weight, because Livingston has the length, but more because Livingston's knee exploded and had to come back from that and lost a lot of his athleticism as well, but he found new ways to adjust. So that's actually perfect.
And it comes down to system as well.
Of course.
Right? Like you cannot imagine Derrick Rose going into a Los Angeles Lakers and having to be the forefront of their offense, or the forefront of having to move forward and build that team around him, because a lot of weight comes with that. He has to carry that weight, and we know his knees cannot carry that weight. And I think that if he goes into a system where they have good shooters and they have, I would say, players that he can try to bring into the game more, because he's a good passer as well, and he's great at finding space. So I think that those assets are not going to be as strenuous on his body, and I think he can still be a useful player. But it just, you mentioned it, that's the contract that goes along with him, and it's his expectation. I don't think it's easy to go up to someone like Derrick Rose and say, all right, you're going to be a second string point guard, but you're going to be very useful. I think that he's, all his life has been experiencing the position as his number one.
That was the promise, was basically he was going to be the new face of the NBA when he came in. He was
in a franchise like Chicago, with the history there.
Who needed that? That was the big turnaround. Chicago was not good after the Jordan era for a little bit of time, and then they kind of got better. Thibs had a major part to do with that as well. So real quick before we wrap up, because you alluded to Jimmy Butler, I want to go to the chart. I made a chart. I used Infogram to make a
chart.
I should have added Pau Gasol also, because you can, I might want to say you can say goodbye to all these players, but I'm pretty sure Jimmy Butler is the only one that might be staying. But the Bulls are going to go through a rebuild. And if you just look at the PER by position, that's Hollinger's rank.
Joakim Noah has to go, I think.
Jimmy Butler was third among shooting guards. You can get so much in return. If you want to go through a full rebuild, that idea of trading for the number 5 overall pick isn't a bad one, because you can get a Chris Dunn in the draft, or maybe a Jamal Murray, or maybe they're looking for a new point guard. Granted, Jimmy Butler to the Timberwolves, I don't know if that's the best situation. I think it would have been the most fun.
I'd like to see him alongside.
How are they going to keep all them together eventually?
With Wiggins and
Wiggins' contract eventually,
and
Towns. They have a few years, but their rookie contract expire. It would be for about 2 years. Then what? And Tibbs is coaching there, so that's an interesting one. Joakim Noah, Dan wants him, right?
I think Chicago have to get. I mean, Joakim Noah, I remember watching as well. He was another breathtaking talent. It just seems that in Chicago,
a little bit of injuries.
Injuries as well. It just seems to hinder some of these players who, I would say 2 years ago, when I first started really getting involved in basketball, I said to you all the time, I said the Chicago Bulls, if they add maybe just 1 or 2 players and keep some of those star talent fit, they could be definitely a team to challenge in the East. But it just seems like they're injury worries. Even at points last season when Jimmy Butler got injured.
Healthy Derrick Rose, healthy Jimmy Butler, and this point, it's almost like the timing never added up with the Bulls. If you had MVP Rose with where Jimmy Butler is now and Pau Gasol when he first came over, that's a team that easily could have challenged or won the Eastern Conference, and then likely go to the NBA Finals and lose to the Lakers, the Warriors, the
Golden State.
The Spurs,
Lakers?
The Spurs. 2010.
Oh, 2010.
The Lakers, the Spurs, all those guys. Maybe not the Thunder, though. Interesting. Whatever. Regardless, comment below what you think about what the Chicago Bulls should be doing with Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler, Joakim Noah, and Pau Gasol, and whoever else is left on the team. Doug McBuckets.
Doug McBucket.
At JasonRuber91, at TYT Sports on Twitter. We're also over on Facebook, facebook.com/TYT Sports, and Watchable. Check us out over there.